Welcome to Talking Business and Life with Claudio Reilsono and Steve Mancini. Claudio and Steve will share their business and life experience to help you grow your business and improve your life. Here's Claudio and Steve.
Good evening and welcome to Talking Business and Life. I am your co-host, Steve Mancini, and with me as always is Claudio Reilsono. Claudio, how are you?
Okay, we have a very special guest today, and I have a great story after I make the introduction. He is, in my opinion, Duquesne University's greatest basketball player. He's in several Halls of Fame, WPIL Hall of Fame, Duquesne Hall of Fame. They retired his number. He's also in the Western PA Sports Hall of Fame. When my daughter Ida graduated from Duquesne grad school in December, I purposely went up to go see his uniform number. I have several favorite NBA players. I have three favorite college players. Chris Corciani, who was on the show, Ernie DiGregorio, I got to go to a couple Italian guys, and of course, BB Flenory. BB Flenory, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's a thrill for me.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me and letting me be a part of your show.
All right. Now, my story. 1995, I was coaching at Duquesne University. I was an assistant. I had to meet a friend at the Swickley Pizza Roma. And all of a sudden, I started talking to this guy, and we're talking about this and about that. And I had a Duquesne University logo sweater on. So he said, do you go to Duquesne? Do you teach? I said, no, I coach baseball there. And we're talking. And then talk about basketball. I said, my favorite player was BB Flenory. Now, remember, I hadn't seen him play in years, right? And he said, I'm BB Flenory. And I said, damn, you are BB Flenory. So it's a good thing I didn't say anything bad about him. But he really is my all-time favorite. So BB, once again, thank you for being on the show. You started off at Valley High School. Tell us about those days at Valley High School. Who was BB Flenory then?
Well, it really started in about third grade. Coach Rice, who followed me to Duquesne University, or we went together, whatever you package deal, whatever you want to call it. But it all started out in third grade in New Kensington, and he had the third grade team practicing with the high school. The high school players had to stay after, and they had a feeder program. And that's where my love of the game began in third grade. And I was lucky enough to hone my skills, and I loved the game. I couldn't get enough of it, and I was lucky enough to, by the time I got to junior high school, I was a pretty fair basketball player. And like at ninth grade, you've probably heard the story here where I scored 81 points in a junior high game and only played 3 quarters. My sophomore year, I was getting a little bit better. I made all WPIL as a sophomore.
Wait a minute, I got to chime in there. You scored 91 points.
81,
you didn't play the whole game, and you had to get a little bit better. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Terrible stats, terrible.
Yeah, each level you get up to, by the time I got to be a sophomore, like I said, I made all WPIL as a sophomore, and that's when they only had one classification. It's not like it is now.
Right.
It just was Class A. They had a couple B schools, but mostly every school was Class A. So then, I got a little bit better. I was player of the year in the WPIL with some pretty good players. Been player of the year in the state of Pennsylvania we had Clancy and Gene Banks and Benji Pryor and Stu Lyons and Puffy Kennedy. So we had some great players, so that was pretty much my high school career. And we went to the WPL finals twice. Then we lost to Fifth Avenue with the great Sam Clancy and Warner Macklin, and Billy Clark went to Duquesne, and David Kennedy went to Cincinnati. On that floor, if I can tell you this, in high school, there were 8 Pennsylvania round ball players on the court at the same time.
Wow.
8.
That is
Is
impressive.
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but because I do want to talk about Duquesne. I think that era of basketball, high school-wise, would have dominated the guys today, in my opinion. You guys, your skill level was not only better, but the attitudes. No offense to these kids today, but you guys were a little bit hungrier. Am I wrong about that?
Oh, you're absolutely right. But we were 5 times better than these kids today.
Yeah.
When we came out, it is what it is. When we came out of school, they had just wrote I forget, Mike White from the Post-Gazette. He just wrote an article. When I came out of school, like even before me, like it might have been 72 to 78. There were 41. Yeah, there were 41 Division I players a year coming out to whip you. 41 division. You're talking about Keith Starr, Billy Knight,
Mel
Bennett, Clancy, Clark, Ricky Coleman, Billy Knight, Jeep Kelly. List goes on
Maurice
and on
Lucas
and on.
a little bit
Maurice
before.
Lucas, he played with Jeep. Jeep was a freshman.
I just want to chime in on that because you make a good point on that because that wasn't just basketball. That was even in the football back then. It was very different too. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I do want to ask something because what has changed with sports in general? Now, let's focus on Western Pennsylvania. What has changed? Because I kind of agree with you guys, and I don't think this is an age thing like, our generation was better. Like, I think our generation was better. I mean, you can just look at the way they played, and I think a lot of it, was there was still a focus on teamwork then. There was still team
rivalries and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, we want to beat them. It wasn't like, hey, I just want to get paid and I want to get, everybody wants to make it the pros. I get that. Right. But at the same time, when you were playing hard for your school, you were playing hard for your school. And I don't necessarily see that passion. But so what has changed so much? I feel like those kids then, not just in basketball, even in football, because remember, Western PA used to crank out pro football players too.
Hall of Famers.
What's so different now? What has changed?
What I see is a lot of things has changed. The landscape of sports, and just some of the things is just when I was growing up, there wasn't as much drugs, and there were in pockets. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's always been drugs, but now, man, you've got drugs, kids selling drugs.
Hard drugs.
The basketball courts, it started. You could go to the basketball court and see grass growing out the cement,
Right.
Not when we was growing up. Then there's just so many things. You got Nintendo and social media, and there's just a variety of things that the kids are into today that when we were growing up, we would never even think of, and it's just funny because somebody said to me the other day, the BB, you probably not a person that believes everybody gets a trophy, and I am, and you might find that hard to believe, but the reason why I am is because there are so many things that kids can succumb to. Kids walking to school, man, there's the, peer pressure to join a gang, peer pressure to sell drugs. If you just make it for, some of the kids, man, some of their home lives are a little bit, out there. And so if you just make it from school, from home to school with all the obstacles you got to step over, man, you deserve something for just getting there every day. That's just the way I feel about the way the landscape is today.
One thing, though, I don't think the kids, I'm 61, we used to play hoops and remember the chains? Mm-hmm. Now they have the nets. So they ain't playing if there's chains anymore. The attitudes have changed. But why Duquesne, and what other schools were you close to signing with?
Well, that's a good question. And I don't want to brag, but it is what it is. I was a parade All-American coming out of school, and I'm only one of 13 in the history that became a parade All-American. So I pretty much was able to go anywhere I wanted to. UCLA didn't recruit me, but your Marquettes, your West Virginias, Tulsa, Oklahoma at that time. I could have went to UNLV. Obviously, first school to ever recruit me was University of Pittsburgh, Coach Gerg. And I love that team. Those are some of my best friends with Billy Knight and Keith Starr and Jim Bola and that Kirk Bruce and that crew. So I love the University of Pittsburgh. I was going to go to West Virginia. I was set to go to West Virginia. And there was two things. Norm Nixon came to my house, and I knew, that I would start in the backcourt with Norman. The second thing was Duquesne had their guards were Mike Barr, Ricketts, Cy Hugo Green, Norman. So they really their guards are the best players in the university history. At Pitt, they kind of featured their big guys, Larry Harris, Mooney Knight, Sam Clancy. You really can't think of a real guard that, I don't think it was a guard at Hennon way back in the day. But anyway, Duquesne was more guard-oriented. I wanted my parents to see me play. A lot of people didn't know this, that when I left Duquesne was the 5th all-time leading school in the history of the NCAA. Wow. So Pitt and Duquesne, we beat Pitt, we played them 2 times a year, 3 times because we played them in NIT and beat them. But we beat Pitt more times in my era than they beat us. And we had like a 55 game or 45 game winning over them. Now it's flipped. Oh yeah, back in the day, Duquesne was like national champs in the NIT and perennial with the bars and the Nelsingtons, Jared Dorm, and all those guys. They were going to the NCAA tournament every year. So it was more that Duquesne had a better program, and my parents could see me play. But people don't realize today, they think Duquesne was downtrodden always, and it wasn't always that.
And they had another good guy, Bruce Atkins, was tough.
Stud.
Yeah.
Stud.
I am curious about something. Duquesne Catholic School. Were you just a weird question? Were you Catholic, or did it have any factor in it? Or you were like, no, I'm just thinking basketball, 100%.
Yeah, that's a weird question, man.
I do my best, man.
I was not Catholic.
Okay. You're gonna be after they get you.
I hated them Catholicism classes, man. I had to go to them.
Oh no.
But
so I guess he's not going to be on your show. He hosts a Catholic show.
Thank you for joining us today. We're going to but no, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm curious because a lot of people may or may not have had a factor.
Well, you say black? Or
what?
Said people? I thought you said black
no,
people.
Catholic.
Oh, Catholic. Black.
Why would a black person go to Duquesne?
Well, you know what? I did do it, but I had a black Catholicism class. Did you know?
Really?
That?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I went to a place called the Cathedral of the Moor up on Center Avenue, and so that was where black Catholics were. So that's why I mentioned that. Yeah, I didn't take. He was a professor, and I didn't take regular class from Duquesne. I went up there on the hill and took it from a church up on the hill. So,
and I don't mean this in a mean way, but in all honesty, your focus was basketball. Were you thinking like, again, we weren't thinking like I'm going to Catholic school. Hey, I'm going to get this diploma. It was like, hey, I'm focusing my basketball career because this is the thing that gives me the best whatever.
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, no, not at all. Basketball was always something that I loved. I used to, I can tell you a story. I used to sneak out the house in the snow and rain at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was only 10 years old, and I never thought about playing in the NBA. My dreams was I didn't watch the NBA and say, hey, B.B. Flenory is going to be a professional athlete. Mm-hmm. I never gave that no thought. All I wanted to do was play for the love of the game. Couldn't get enough of it. So no, I was always taught to get an education. Basketball was not the end all be all. I have children. All four of my children have graduated from college. I have one son that started for the University of Stanford, won 2 Rose Bowls in football. Pretty smart kid going to Stanford. I have another grandson that I think is going to be a sure-cut NBA player. He's only in 8th grade, but he's the best 8th grader in the state of Texas.
That says a lot.
In basketball.
Yeah.
But he's also the number 1 or top student in the state of Texas. He's on the president's whatever, man, for grades. So basketball's never been the end all be all for me or my family.
I want to chime in because one of the things Claudio and I do is when we bring in ex-athletes is you find out the ones that are the most successful are the ones that thought beyond the sport. You're going to live that dream, you're going to make money, blah, 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 blah. But then it's like, then what? Not all of them die rich. Not all of them die happy. They could have $1 million at the top of the pile. But if you don't have plan B, then what? And I think that's what a lot of athletes miss. No one says, even if you make it, you're only going to be there so long. Then what? You can just sit on the beach every day, you go crazy.
That's right.
People act like that's a good thing. Like, I don't think that's a good thing. I do think the education is something that is underappreciated. And the crazy thing now is the way they're doing this transfer portal for sports. I'm assuming basketball is the same way, where they're bouncing around between schools because they're getting paid. It's like, at some point the lights go out, man, and then what?
What are your thoughts about that, the NIL and all that kind of stuff?
Man, I wish they'd had that when I. But in all truth, man has a habit. They ruin everything.
I was going to say that.
It was done with good intentions. Neil and a good friend of mine. I just talked to him on the phone the other day. Sonny Vaquero was part of that, and I just spoke with Sonny. But anyway, I thought it was a good thing. I think they have to reel that in and come up with some parameters, because now it's just the wild, wild west.
And they're getting paid. Some of them.
You know what I used
millions.
to like when like Villanova played Georgetown. There was that rivalry. Why? Because those guys played 4 years against each other. I was also an NC State fan against. I mean, again, there was rivalries.
You said Corciani, so you had to be.
I had. Well, now speaking of him, he played in the NBA a couple years. Played overseas for numerous years. So one of the questions we asked him was, when did you decide to pivot over to the business world? When did you start thinking of that? And before he retired, he had real estate. Now he owns a mortgage company and a title company. So when did you say, I'm going to prepare? Greg Norman, the golfer, I would say this all the time. I want to prepare for my life when I'm no longer number one golfer in the world. I'm trying to prepare for my life when I'm done with baseball. When did you say, I'm going to start preparing for the business world?
Tell you the truth, I stopped playing basketball. Well, I went to the Celtics, and I did the last cut of the Celtics, played some exhibition games. And when that was over with, I was able to go overseas. I went to South America. At that time, they were taking big guys to Italy, Spain, and things like that, but they were taking the smaller guys over to Puerto Rico and South America and Brazil and all those.
Are you considered a smaller guy?
Yeah, when I came out of...
Folks, for the record, I just in the studio with him. He's not a small guy.
Well, when I graduated college, I was 6'2", 170.
All right.
So
for basketball, yeah, I can see it.
Pretty small at that time. Always the runner of any team I've played on. I was always the smallest one. But what happened was I went overseas for 3 years. And I came back, and we were playing outside, and somebody wasn't hustling. And this is only 2 years after I got finished playing. Somebody wasn't hustling, and I went and choked him.
Okay.
And so I knew it was, because that's the type of player I was.
This is a pickup game?
Yeah, pickup game.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I used to do that at Duquesne, John Moore or Bruce Atkins, whatever, man. If you wasn't hustling back, I'm probably going to tackle you or jump on you. That was the time I knew it was time for me, to get on with my education and do something, get on with my life's work. Otherwise, I'm gonna be in a penitentiary or beat up.
Well, it's funny you say that, because to your point, you can be passionate about something, but it doesn't mean it has to own you. And that's kind of what you're saying, is that somebody can own you, and you're like, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
Funny though, when I used to play beer league ice hockey, and you get those guys on the ice, they do the same thing. They stand there and they wait till they get the puck, then they don't pass it and they skate. You're just like, man, he's on my team. Just like, so I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it. Claudio, real quick, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. This is actually a very fun conversation.
We were right back with the very popular, and I'm honored to have him on the show, BB Flenory. So we'll be right back.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture. And delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudio Reilsono, and I am the author of the book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. My years as a head baseball coach and a general manager of a pro baseball scouting company, I know that my leadership experiences that I've included in this book will help you become a better leader. You can get the book at ClaudioReilsono.com. Speaking of ClaudioReilsono.com, you can listen to my show, The Claudio Reilsono Show, where I've interviewed such legends as Mario Andretti, Dick Vermeil, Rocky Bleier, and many, many others. And I also have an entrepreneurial program there talking about my entrepreneurial experiences. So hopefully that will help you, and hopefully you will enjoy that. And also, Sports Corner, hosted by Ralph Williams, co-host with myself, Jim Frazier, and Luther Dupree Jr. We appear on 92.5 FM, 1250 AM, The Answer, Salem Radio, every Saturday here in Pittsburgh, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy all the shows, and I hope you enjoy my book.
We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074.
All right. Welcome back to Talking Business and Life with Steve Mancini and Claudio Reilsono. All right, BB. Now, tell us about Presley Ridge. You've been there for over 30 years. Tell us about your responsibilities there. Tell us about Presley Ridge.
Presley Ridge is an organization. We're actually in 10 states, 8 states, I apologize. 8 states in 2 countries. And Presley Ridge has an array of services from foster care. We have an autism program, deaf program, home-based program where they go to home and work with families. And then I'm kind of like in charge of doing, or I handle the day school. Kids that have social, emotional problems and they're having a hard time in their school, they'll be referred to Presley Ridge, and then they come there for their mental health treatment, see psychiatrists, therapists, and get their schooling at Presley Ridge.
And you've been there 30 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us about, like, what are some of the challenges for you in a position like that?
Well, I worked my way up through the ranks, because prior to coming there, I was a juvenile probation officer. That was one of my first jobs, was a juvenile probation officer. And then I went from the punitive side, I wanted to go to the treatment side. Because although I could help kids as a probation officer, I think I could help them better, because there's a lot of mental health things have been going on that people kind of forget about mental health. It's just, well, they're a bad kid, or only when something happens, when somebody shoots up a school or does something, then we talk about mental health for a good 5 minutes, and then we forget about it all over again. Right. So it's been very rewarding to me. I've had opportunities to do other things, but that's just has always been my niche. Now, what has been challenging for me, obviously, in social services, you don't make as much as as you could make. But make money has never been what made BB Flenory tick. It's about, how you give back to your community, how you help people. I get instead of getting assists in a basketball game, I assist families, helping families better, kids better. And so I really enjoy that. I'm retiring this year.
Oh.
It's been time to go, but like I said, man, just watching some of the families and some of the kids, man, they call you up. I was lucky enough to have a basketball court named after me last June, and Mark Madden was interviewing me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And a kid called in. I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear that part, but I remember him. I caught the tail end, I think. Yeah, I do remember that.
A kid called in, and he said that I had changed his life. And thanks for letting him know that he'll be at the ceremony, which he did come at the ceremony. But those are things that throughout my 30 years that have made it all worthwhile.
Wow, that's very nice.
That's the best way to be remembered. I mean, honestly, that's the best way to be remembered for the good things. Because you know what? Again, that's the difference between living for ourselves and living for other people. And like I've said it before, you get so many years on this earth. And then you're gone, and it's a question of how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered? And, now you get to be remembered in a positive way, and you impacted people. And, years beyond when you're gone and those people are growing up, you're going to be the guy they're going to be thinking of. So that's essentially how you live on. And I think that's important. I want to ask something, though, because, we're kind of, I don't want to say joking around, but we're kind of, talking about the difference between sports players in the 70s and 80s, especially at the high school level, and now. But I want to tie that in to the kids. Are you, mental health in children wasn't something, either it was not as prevalent or it was just not talked about. But it just seemed like it wasn't either as prevalent or not talked about back then as it is now. And even now, to your point, you're right. We talk about it for 5 minutes, it's like, gone. Wait for the next shooting. And then everyone says, ban the guns. You see it every day. What's really causing the violence, and it's the person pulling the trigger, and something's triggering, pun intended, them to kind of lose it. So what do you see? What's changed? Because you've been doing this for a long time. What's changed in these kids that's making them, act out this way with the trauma and the drama and all this? What's so different in 30 years?
Well, you hit it the nail on the head. Mental health has always existed, but back in the day, you would just say, "Man, he's a bad kid," or "They're a bad kid." You're not trying to find out what caused the behavior, now, but there's just been so much violence and so like I said, through the years, man, all the shootings and violence and kids seeing their mother and fathers, domestic violence and gun violence and drug violence, and man, it's just. We see it, and some of the times, man, when kids come to us and we see their jacket, so to speak, some of the things I don't even want to get into, but I can just tell you that these kids deserve a trophy. And that's why I'm a trophy person, because I've seen some, and they all look alike. They all look the same. I can say, oh no, we're not going to take this kid and pick up another folder. Looks the same. So saw his mother get beat, gun violence. Somebody's in prison for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? It's a vicious cycle, man. And I don't know what, but it's a big thing with, in terms of people not working, and then do they go commit crimes? I mean, there's no easy fix, but I personally think, as you said, it's not getting better.
Social media,
so cyberbullying, all types of things.
Yeah, technology's added another way to screw with.
Well, like
people.
you said, people can ruin things.
Right.
Social media could be a great thing, and it sometimes is. But they use it improperly, and it can hurt people.
Yes.
You know what? I wanted to say something though. On these kids and all the things that they're seeing, and you talk about that trophy, and I used to be against the trophy for every kid. I never thought of it that way. That might be the only good thing that happens to that kid.
Only good thing.
So I get it.
If you give a kid, let's say, a trophy or something in the banquet, and he says, oh, man, I'm going to travel that journey next year. I'm going to be here every day to be at practice. You know what that little piece of plastic did for somebody's life? Yeah. And that's the way I see things, man. I've always had.
Growing up, who did you look up to?
My father. My heroes weren't Dr. J or Elgin Baylor or Wilt Chamberlain, man. My heroes has always been somebody I could touch, I could smell, I could see. No, I've never. I appreciated different ball players and that, but no, my father. Matter of fact, he's still my hero. So.
That's nice. And as you'll hear at the end of the show, Steve always lets me finish the show, and I always thank my parents. There's an old Italian saying, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know he didn't get there alone. Now, what were some of the things you admired about your dad?
Hard worker, took care of his family. He's a police officer all of his life. I can remember one time, there was a time with Stanley Haas. I don't know if you guys remember. He had broke out of the workhouse. He had killed a Verona police officer, but he was in New Kensington. And I can remember, man, we were midgets. They were getting us off of the field, and that was in 1968. And they were getting us off the field because he had just killed a police officer and he was in the area. And as I'm going in the house, my dad's coming out, because there was a manhunt for Stanley Haas. I can remember fires in New Kensington where my dad had to come home, man, because it was snowing and his uniform was soaking wet, and there was frost on him, and that he had to change to go back out and fight the fire. But the biggest thing, that I respect my father, I always knew he knew I could play basketball. But I can't remember I don't know if ever he ever said, "Baby, you're a good basketball player." But I knew he appreciated it because we talked about it and he was there. But the biggest thing was, if he ever heard that I misbehaved, was ignorant, was a rude young man, you would have heard that in 30 seconds. Oh, yeah. He didn't care much about sports. How you conduct yourself is really what I learned about from my father.
I always talk about my parents. I adored my parents, but if I did the slightest thing wrong, man, did they blow it out of proportion. But you know what? I learned from it. And Alex Rodriguez was told by Warren Buffett, there has to be someone in your life that you don't want to disappoint. And for me, I never wanted to disappoint my parents, never. And it sounds like that was with you, both in basketball and as a man.
As a man. Yeah, and it got me in trouble, too. I can remember my mom saying to me, they wanted her autograph. She was a worker. And sometimes when you don't want to disappoint, you put so much pressure on yourself.
No doubt.
That when I got cut by the Boston Celtics, no matter all the things I had done, I felt like I disappointed my mother. And it took me over a month to come back to Pittsburgh. I was embarrassed. So it is a good thing, but you can see sometimes it adds a little bit more. You always want your mother to feel that way, always,
I had 3 tryouts. 2 of them I was injured. The last one I was perfectly fine. My size didn't help, but that's beside the point. I just bombed my last tryout. I'll never forget, I was sitting down. It was a Pirate tryout. I was sitting down, and they were telling people, who's going to the next hitting. And that was my best attribute, was hitting. They didn't call my name. I had a smile on my face. And I don't know why the hell I smiled, but I smiled, and I said, how am I going to go home and tell my parents that the playing dream is over? I wasn't worried about me so much. Right. It was about them. And thank God things went the way they did otherwise. But that's a good thing, that we were motivated by them. We did. But you're right. It does put a lot of pressure on you. Now, with your kids and grandkids, how are you different, or are you the same as your dad was and your parents were with you?
I'm pretty much the same as my dad was to me. And sometimes, I know with my son was a pretty good football player. He was just a little bit different. My grandkids are was all Americans and all that. But my point to that is, I may not have pushed them as hard as I could have pushed them because, I didn't want to put added pressure on them, just living up to being, when they were growing up, and they talk about it all the time, there was a lot of pressure on them. You're B.B. Flenory's kids, you're his grandkids. And so I didn't want to give them that added pressure. Right. But sometimes I really look at my son and I say, damn, if I would have pushed him, because he was a All-American in New Hampshire, but he was better than that. But he just didn't work as hard as he should have. But I never made him, because I didn't want him, to feel like, man, I want him to be like me.
Right.
So I kind of, parenting doesn't come with a
manual.
A manual.
No.
Let me ask you, what's the most if you wanted to sum up all the lessons you taught, I mean, not even your kids, maybe even some of the kids you've worked with, what's the most important thing that you taught them? What's the one lesson you said, I wish everybody knew this? What is it?
And I mean this, that every day you should try to bring joy to somebody's life. That's really, it kind of sounds corny, but really I try to tell. I coached the basketball team and for Preston Ridge, and we started praying to other approved private schools like us, the Pacers, the Bradley Centers, and that. And they did a article on our team, and they did, you guys in journalism, they did 5 days, 4 pages, 5 days, 20 pages about our team. They just followed our team. And on the front page of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, a kid is hollering at me, because once again, they have behavior problems, and he's, Mr. Flenory, why can't we play, man, and why can't we beat them, why can't we? Because I never let my team win by more than 10 points, never. And the reason is, that's what's the point I'm getting to, the reason is, what do you get out of stomping your fellow man? What do you get out of crushing your fellow man? That's not what we're playing basketball here. There's lessons to be learned. So really, for me, I just think everybody should try to bring joy in somebody's life every day, and this place would be, this world would be a much better place.
Amen.
You're
not Catholic?
Couple random questions. What was your favorite shot? Most important shot? What was it? A game? Not a game, but again, the shot that you think about all the time.
I think more about the shots I didn't take, but probably the biggest shot I ever made was we were playing Farrell in the WPIAL semifinals, and the Valley had never been to the finals, and I took the last shot with about a second to go, and I dribbled it down 20 seconds, and then shot it with it 1 second, hit it, we went to the finals.
All right.
That was fun.
We talked about trophies a lot. Do you have all your trophies up? So you can see them? And what are your thoughts when you do see them, and when you see your uniform number and shirt at Duquesne? What goes through your mind?
This is truth. I have never had an award of mine displayed in my house in my life.
Really? Okay.
Wow.
If you were to go to my garage, I probably have maybe this whole room of nothing but anytime I get a trophy, I'll take it. It could be WPL Hall of Fame, State Hall of Fame. It can be whatever. When they gave me a big shirt, whenever they named the court after me, because that's probably my biggest award I ever got, to have a name in your hometown, a court in your hometown named after you. So they gave me a shirt with that look of the court and everything. I came home, man, got a green plastic bag, and I stuck it in the garage. Never in my life ever had anything showing me. And the reason being, honestly, that doesn't drive me. Now, I do appreciate they have the Pittsburgh Player of the Year, WPL Player of the Year named after me.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
And that makes me tear up. Stuff in the Palumbo Center, Hall of Fames and stuff in the Palumbo Center. I can appreciate that, and I worked hard for that. But it just doesn't drive me, man. I see people, man. Soldiers going to war, getting bullets shot at them, man, and people saving our lives, and police officers, and they're gonna give B.B. Flenory all these awards and give pro players all this money, and there's somebody overseas in a war making this possible for us. How can that be? I just think the world has its priorities ass backwards.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. Let me ask you, what you said you're going to retire soon. What's next? I know you're not going to sit still.
I hope to. I just did a broadcast with Paul Alexander. I did a little bit of color with him the other day, and we're looking at doing a little bit more of that. I'm going to hopefully I can get down to my alma mater and mess around with Duquesne a little bit. But the biggest thing I want to do is I'm the vice president of the Willie Thrower Award Foundation, and we give out the top quarterback. We give out like a 36-pound trophy to the top quarterback. I mean, this is bigger than Heisman.
Wow.
To the top quarterback. And Willie was the first black quarterback in the National Football League. We give that out. But I've been doing a lot of things for different people, and I haven't done anything for myself. So I think, when I retire, I'm going to start doing camps and clinics and, giving back something in my own name instead of everybody else.
The irony is you're still going to be giving back. You're just going to be doing it in your own name instead of someone else's. You know what? We need more people like that in this world. We really do.
As much as the media tries to separate everybody, the one thing they can't do that connects us all is adversity. What do you tell people how to handle adversity?
I tell them a lot about, a lot of people, I give them the story. I don't know if you guys are aware. As I said earlier, I was supposed to go to West Virginia, and I didn't go to West Virginia, and I ended up our first game against West Virginia. I'm starting in the backcourt, third game of the season, and Bobby Huggins hits me with the elbow. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, not the story. I'm familiar with him, but not the story. No, I do
No,
not.
story. Well, I was supposed to go to West Virginia. I was going to West Virginia until Mancini Murphy came to my house, but that's a whole different story.
Okay.
But I went to West Virginia, and he hit me with an elbow, paralyzed me. And I had a concussion. I went to coming home on the bus, threw up, fainted, was in Mercy Hospital for over a month. Most people don't know this. Then I ended up, when I came back, we played against Duke with Jim Spanarkel and them, and my head hit the Civic Arena floor. So I really missed my whole freshman year. Everything I did at Duquesne, I only did in 3 years. Why do I say that? Because as much as I love the game, I was not being able to play for a year. Then when I came back, I had to wear a boxing helmet. I think that was the time, man, was the most difficult time in my life. But you just have to believe, man. I tell people, man, you just got to believe that God does everything for a purpose, and and then I always believe that, and it ended up working out for me. I got better and had a pretty good career at Duquesne after that. But I always believe, if you want good stuff to happen to you, do good things. And really, I don't really go by hoping, and I wish this happens. I just believe, and I know there's good people that bad things happen to. Don't get me wrong, but I think by and large, if you want good things to happen to you, then you be a good person, and things will work out for you.
Very nice.
All right, you want to gonna wrap us up here, because
I knew he wouldn't disappoint.
I'm telling you, I was a fantastic person. I mean that sincerely. I really appreciated the conversation. You sure you're not Catholic? 'Cause you sound like a Catholic. No, but I appreciate it. I do. You know what? If you step back and you think, how many people went to the pros, and how many of those people give back for all they've been blessed with? How many give back? Ain't a lot.
Exactly.
You didn't make $100 million playing for the LA Lakers, but you know what? Your legacy is going to be far greater than a lot of guys that did, and I think you should definitely. I think you should definitely be proud of that.
I thank you.
Now, he's a good man, and I pick him good. The guys that I like, I just don't pick somebody or like somebody or follow them because of how great they were at what they did. I used to like his interviews. It's different back then. The coverage wasn't, but we used to get nice coverage, Bill Hillgrove and all those guys. But it's a thrill for me to have you on. It really is, and I appreciate you taking the time. And again, you brought a lot of happiness to me watching you. play, and now I admire you even more as a man. So I appreciate you being on the show. Steve, thank you as always. Thank you to all the people tuning in, and as always, thank you, Mom and Pop. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Talking Business and Life with Claudio Reilsono and Steve Mancini. Tune in next week for more impactful business and life experiences with Claudio and Steve.